Watch this video with me. This is amazing.
All right, let's see it.
Yes, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So, at the bottom here, every single one of those lines is a biblical verse.
It's not a biblical verse, it's a biblical chapter.
Now, the length of the line is proportionate to how many times that verse is referred to in some way by some other verse.
No, the length of the line is how many verses are in that chapter.
So you say, well, this is the first hyperlinked book, right? I'm dead serious about that. You can't click and get the hyperlinks, obviously, but it's a thoroughly hyperlinked book.
So the Bible is absolutely a highly self-referential text, and there are many good reasons for this. It is a collection of the authoritative literature of a specific historical community and its descendants that accumulated over the course of many centuries. And from its initial compilation down to the very last text that was written, the goals were to generate and curate a sense of shared identity, a sense of community, and a sense of a relationship with deity. And so the compilation and accumulation of new texts focused on that macro narrative of telling the story of the relationship of God to their people. And so new layers that were added on were more likely to gain purchase and to remain a part of the corpus to the degree that they could create ties to that past, and in that way inform the experiences of the community in the present day by tying those experiences to what has come before. And in telling this story of God's relationships with their people, the more closely you can tie the present to the past, the stronger that sense of a shared identity, that sense of community, and that sense of that relationship with deity will be. The way this chart is put together, it's not identifying connections that were understood or intended by the authors and editors. I would argue that the majority of these connections are connections that have been conjured up since the completion of the Bible. We've had over 2,000 years to look at these texts and come up with different ways to draw connections to make these texts more meaningful and more useful and more significant to us. And the way the creators of this chart describe their methodology indicates that they're not looking for explicit or clear linguistic cross-references. This is how they define cross-references. They are conceptual links, not direct linguistic references, but conceptual links between verses connecting locations, people, phrases, etc., found in different parts of the Bible. So the idea is not necessarily this is where one author referred to another author or their text. This is here's where we can draw a connection between something that is said here and something that is said over there. Maybe it's the notion that this is the fulfillment of some prophecy that scholarship agrees isn't really a prophecy to begin with, and that scholars have never suggested was intended to function as the fulfillment of some earlier prophecy. This chart connects directly to Genesis 1 pretty much every reference to creation or creator found anywhere in the text, whether or not it is clear that it was intended to refer to the events of Genesis 1. So this is not an illustration of the hyper self-referentiality of the Bible. This is really an illustration of how much we have read into the text and how many connections we have imposed upon the text.
There's 65,000 cross-references, and that's what this map shows.
Wow.
And so that's a great visual representation of the book. Well, just imagine how many pathways you could take through that.
Look at
Right?
that.
I mean, you just journey through that forever. You'd never ever get to the end of it.
Yes, the Bible can be conceptualized as the world's most complex choose-your-own-adventure game. But again, this chart primarily is illustrating just how creative we have become after 2,000 years of reading the Bible. And I don't know if Dr. Peterson is subtly intending to make this argument, but absolutely none of these data demand or even point in the direction of anything other than a perfectly natural origin for the Bible.